And I'm glad that we have two women and two men here tonight. So that's awesome. And Randy, what I really appreciated about what you offered just now, as well as how perfectly you're setting up next week's conversation. We're going to be talking a little bit about stock market mechanics and picking that apart, taking that apart, and how to kind of change the motor, how to change the machine, so to speak. But before I go into that, Hemant, do you have any closing thoughts or observations you would like to make before we end our time here for this week?
We are all relatives. That's it.
That's it. Very good.
Uh,
Very good. All right. Well, that being said, next week on Tuesday,
Wait. Meth, what did you just say?
we are all relatives.
we're all
Well,
relatives.
hold on, Mike. Do you mind? I don't know how you feel, Neff and Mike. If you don't mind going into our rehearsal time, do you mind if I respond to some of what
Please,
I heard? This
definitely.
this conversation is just so. I don't have talks like this much with people, not really at all. And this is so stimulating to me. So I wrote down some things here when you were talking, Randy, and I'd like to get feedback on this. All right, the first thing I want to say is another word. There's five words that I've taken out of my vocabulary: evil, good, bad, and right, wrong. But what I like in the Course in Miracles is that he talks about right-mindedness and wrong-mindedness. That I think is a safer way to go. Because I heard you, Randy, using the word right and wrong, and I thought, when I hear those words, I immediately something in me goes, if I disagree, I'm like, no, it's right, it's wrong. When I hear those words, that's what happens, and I think those are words that are very dangerous in our vocabulary. Um, and the other thing was you said something about the terrible things that are happening in the world. Now, I said this to a friend today. I said, I do not see myself as a Pollyanna. I see myself very much as a realist. But I've been studying this Course in Miracles since 1984. I can't get this out of my head anymore, all this language. When I heard the word terrible things, the question that came to my mind is, what if we didn't call these things terrible? What if we changed it and said, these things scare the shit out of me? This thing angers me.
Mm,
Again, we open dialogue. As soon as we label, this is my judgment. This is my story that I'm telling myself. As soon as I label something as bad, good, anything, I think the dialogue is stuck. Doesn't it? It won't expand in a
mhm,
healthy way. It'll just be stuck within the boundary of these judgments. Does that make sense?
mhm.
I'm just catching it all over the place that it's all language.
Yeah,
I'm reading Rosenberg's book. What's his name? Nonviolent Communication.
yeah. Mhm.
I'm reading it so damn slowly, but God, he says, he says, anything that you say outside of I feel, basically mad, sad, glad, fear, shame.
Mhm.
And everything basically comes under that. As soon as you say, for instance, I feel misunderstood, now you're putting the onus on the other guy.
Mm,
They're going to go in their head and go, oh, I misunderstood them. I feel, and that's not really a feeling. Under I feel misunderstood is probably I feel angry that I felt that I didn't think you understood what I said. But it's so hard to say to people, I felt angry when you said blank.
yeah.
As soon as they hear anger. So now again, there I am sitting there going, well, what's another way to say it that's not a lie, doesn't put it on the other guy in any way,
Yeah.
but really has me owning it. Again, it all seems to come down to language, at least where
Mhm,
we're at right now.
mhm.
Eventually, we probably won't even need language. We'll be able to, people will read each other. We'll be so sensitive and intuitive if we keep developing that ability that's our emotional IQs, that we will be able to, I'm getting pretty good at it. I can walk into a room and, almost feel what people are feeling when I'm in front of them. and if I check it with them, I'm often spot on. So I think that's where we're going to start. Those of us who are more advanced,
I,
spiritual, I
I
don't
would
know.
say they're like scouts. That's the archetype of the scout.
Interesting. I never heard that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, the ones who are quote unquote weird. And I have to congratulate you and appreciate what you just did there, Janet, too, because we're culturally conditioned to consolidate and make more efficient. What you just demonstrated just there was how to maintain a living library conversation which benefits the commons. And it might feel like a little bit of a diversion, but this is how it grows out, and this is how the conversation expands.
Expands.
Hmm.
I love that. Well, I just thought of it when I said it. I had a vision of, I lead a meditation with my peers at work where I have them imagine Martin Luther King, Moses, Jesus carrying signs with peace symbols on them and hearts. And they're walking into a valley, and on one side of the valley is the Palestinians.
Hmm.
And then the other side of the valley is, or there's two, it doesn't matter. I did it in the Middle East when I did it. So I had them see the Israelis and the Palestinians. It doesn't matter. Any two sides fighting each other with guns. And they walk into the middle, and all the bullets are just popping right off of them. Nothing's hurting them. And I tell the person in the meditation, I say, imagine you're walking with them, and the bullets are popping off of you, and nothing's working. And one of them, Jesus says, "All right, everybody, all of their guns start melting. The ends of their guns start melting." I'm a very visual person, so or their guns just like fall down and break or something, so they can't use the guns anymore. So Jesus says, "All right, come on, everybody, sit down, sit down. We're going to sit in one big circle." And all of a sudden, this huge plastic bubble comes over them and encloses them. And he says to them, "We're not going to, this bubble will not dissipate or evaporate until you all work out everything that's bothering you." This is I told Nefertiti and Mike, I've talked about this work that I've done by Scott Peck, the guy who wrote The Road Less Traveled. He wrote a book called A Different Drum. And in it, he delineated how 4 stages that every organization or grouping would have to go through to survive well. And the first one is chaos. That's when you're a mess. Everybody's gossiping and arguing and blah, 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 blah. And then the next stage is I'm trying to think of the name of it. But it's the next stage is where you have to sit down, where this point would be with the bubble over them, where they have to sit down and keep working on it and working on it till they get through all their stuff. And then the stage after that is I'm not remembering all of it, but the is I guess where they come together and you have community. And then the final stage is you have to keep working on it. You might go back to stage 1 and you have to go through it. Well, Scott Peck used to lead workshops. And what he would do is he would just have exactly what I'm saying. You'd have the whole group. People would come and pay to do this thing who had no idea what it was. They were coming from different organizations, and most of them didn't know each other. My girlfriend did it because she was working with me on this. We were teaching this kind of stuff to social workers and psychologists. So she wanted to do his workshop. So she's sitting in this room with all these people she doesn't know. And Scott Peck is going, "Okay, we're just going to sit here until the chaos happens, until the shit comes up." And it took a while because they didn't know each other. And finally, people started standing up and getting mad at the fact that they were just sitting there with no direction. And then other people would get up and argue with them. And it started to develop the chaos. And he had them keep working through these steps. I mean, it's a most hilarious thing. The guy's doing almost nothing. He's letting the whole audience basically do it. And so that's what my meditation was about. And then I would say then the bubble would just disappear as peace was developed, and I'd have them draw what they saw. So I think this goes back to what you were saying, Randy. I think this is what you were saying, is that the world has a natural ability to finally even out, to finally find its way back to source. Is that, that's what the course says, that we're all going home to God, whether we want to, or, you're going home. It's just you choose how long you get to take to get there, and it may not happen in this lifetime. But then he also says there's no such thing as reincarnation because all there is now. So you can think of, if reincarnation helps you, go ahead, think about it. But when I say the Course in Miracles is purported to be written, channeled from Jesus, and that's what from my experience of it, that is so. But so I do have, and I've also there's this guy who does he's famous. He does a workshop where he talks about how for each action, I think, Mike, you addressed, I think this may be the polarity thing. For each action that there is, somewhere in the world, the balancing action is happening. So technically, we're not running toward destruction. It looks like it. Everything's balancing out somehow. And maybe it has to get so bad, but somewhere in the world, something's getting so, or, bad. I don't like to use, so difficult. It's scary. But somewhere else in the world, something's happening that's so peaceful and beautiful. So we may not see it right now. And here in America, tomorrow, by the end of, tomorrow, this next week, we may see something really cuckoo bell happen. But somewhere else, I tell myself, in the world, there's a balance to this. Or in the universe, somewhere in the universe, there's a balance. That's what gets me through.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, what comes up for me as well too is this dance. There's always this dance between chaos
Good
or
word.
freedom,
Yes.
yeah,
Good
and
word.
the need for structure. When you refer to Peck's work, I envision a very loose structure in working through the chaos. What just dawned on me as you were speaking was I think what this work is we're starting to layer in just a little bit more structure because rather than throw people into a room with little to no guidance, um, what I've been learning from from Trey and from Kylie and from our work together on the bridge as well is that if there's a foundation of having appreciation conversations, possibility conversations, that's when we can find the common ground and start to weave our visions together, because that's really where our society where and I associate this with more patriarchal energy where we're thrown into these situations where we have to compete, we have to debate, we have to claw and fight, fight for our right to be heard. But as we're establishing more collaborative environments, you know, there is more of a structure that's starting to form. Meaning, if you start to get into a dissent conversation and you're not quite ready for it, how to bring it back into appreciation and possibility, so that there is more clarity and there is more safety, for lack of a better word. Even though we're kind of deciding, or we've kind of observed that there's really no such thing as a safe space, but there are brave spaces where where we can express those feelings and we can bring it back to those dialogues where we identify, what am I mad about, what am I sad about, what am I ashamed of, because that's where the real work is done and the real conflict resolution happens. Because if we keep pushing those feelings aside, if we keep pushing off what I associate as that feminine aspect, it's going to continue to be chaos. But I think we're finding a psychological center, a frame of reference now um, where we can be with each other and let it diverge, let it go where it needs to go, and then bring it back into, what do we have in common? What do we appreciate? What are we feeling? Can we work through these feelings? And that's all the relativity. How do we treat each other? How are we choosing to treat each other? I think that's law of relativity right there.
Mike, are you open to a learning moment,
Yes.
teaching moment? So when you just said it's going to continue to be chaos,
Hmm.
for a moment, my brain got scared.
Hmm.
I would appreciate if you would say it's going to continue to appear to be chaos.
Okay.
Big difference for me. It
Hmm.
makes me want to. When I hear leaders of any group say it's going to be this or it's going to,
Hmm.
well, first of all, we don't know what anything's going to be,
Right.
but those little shifts in language bring back my inner child.
Hmm.
That's when I can hear you as an innocent child.
Hmm.
When I hear people say it's going to be blank or it
Hmm.
is blank, my adult gets into my head.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. If that completely works for you, Janet, then absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
because
think it will work
Mhm.
more for the world. I think really, if we really we breathe more when we speak and we slow down and think before we say these things, I think it will be better. My judgment is it'll make a shift in the world.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what appreciation conversations are about too, Janet, to be
Yeah.
able to reflect back and to ask permission, first of all, like you just did, ask permission for a teaching moment. I can say at the moment, I will have to work. I will have to work on having that kind of lucidity in that because yeah, so because that's something where I'm the kind of guy who kind of just jumps in and then let's backpedal and then talk about what just happened. But
Hmm.
thank you for that teaching moment, and it's something that I hope will continue.
Mike, I got to tell you, I'm not so much better at this either. I've just really I'm getting very close to this gentleman. I was telling Mike and Nefertiti about him that I've known for about 5 months now. And the deeper we
Janet,
go in
Janet, can we pause for just a moment? Everybody, are we okay to stick around for a few moments? If okay, yeah, just want to make sure we're running.
I'm
We're
okay
we're
with,
20 minutes over
I,
time, 25
thank you
minutes over
for,
time. Mhm.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm just loving this.
No, that's okay.
But
I just want to ask.
the
I want
more
to be respectful of everybody's
that's
time
good.
here. Yeah, thank you.
What I'm noticing is the closer that I get to this gentleman and the more intimate our conversation is, the more we open up to each other, the more I'm noticing these things. So, my theory now in this moment, I'm thinking to myself, the more intimate we are with others, the more we'll be able to hear these little need for these changes. We'll start hearing ourselves more as we talk to each other. But I think it's that safety. And what did you call it? You said, Mike, maybe not safety, but
Structure, maybe.
you no, used a
A
good
brave
word.
space.
Brave space.
Brave, brave. I love that. Brave. Nefertiti is our Akashic records. She remembers everything that's said, and I love that. That you, yeah, right. There's the emoji for it. That's it. Um, it's like uh, the more I, I am hearing how I'm talking. I'm hearing how other people are talking. I'm noticing how it's landing in my body. What the word evil does to my body. That
Mhm.
is that's somatic stuff, right? I'm such a mental person. I'm super duper Aquarius. I'm like way up in my brain here. So for me to start noticing things landing words in my body, that's just blowing me away. You know, like Randy, when you speak, I hear some of your words just go right, like, ooh, yes. Ooh, they're like flowing in my body and warming my heart. And then you say right or wrong, and I'll feel,
Mhm.
it's just interesting how I'm noticing that. I invite everybody to start the whole world. I wish we would start noticing how things are landing on us, not just mentally. We're very mental in this world. I'd like to start, getting back to the body there for me anyway.
These are perfect living library conversations that are emerging.
That what this is?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
There goes that little sparkly heart again. I like that thing. I've never seen emojis that move. You'll have to teach me that one, Nev.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think this is, again, what we've been touching on here is just the awareness of the power of words. Whether, again, it's something that we're receiving or something that we're transmitting. And again, I know from my personal experience and stuff, and I did sales. Again, my words were meant to be manipulative to get the means to an end of somebody to do a transaction with me and such. And I was still oblivious to this, again, which I would, again, say the natural order of things. This is a common part of the human experience. To just be aware that I can say a word and it's going to affect a person in a different way. Among the five of us, there's probably whatever words that any of us have strung together, there's been a unique response. And to be aware that that's just the working order of things, then I can be a little more cognitive of my choice of words. And also, it can have a little bit of, I'll use the word forgiveness in this application, but maybe it's just I can be more relaxed about it, is understanding that if I was to use a word like evil, good, bad, whatever, and such that elicits a strong response from you, Janet, and stuff, I know that's just, again, I know it's very legitimate, it's very real that you've experienced it, but also I know that how to say, even though I initiated those words and the language and stuff, your unique response is not entirely, it's not my fault that all of a sudden I said
No.
something that made an individual respond in the way, we'll use again, that common word trigger. So all of a sudden, I
Yes.
don't know. And trigger, frankly, is, again, it's just a reaction as opposed to a response and stuff. And again, it's a reaction that's probably going through the limbic brain. Again, the fight or flight, freeze or fawn type of thing. Again, back to the big, huge word is safe here. Again, the living library, we're creating safe spaces where people can express themselves and again, and be honored and seen and heard, which again, I believe this is something that is a fundamental need for everyone as well. When that need is fulfilled, then there's less likely a causation for me to try to manipulate and to force things and to get my needs met in what I would determine as unnatural, unhealthy ways. Again, manipulation and such. So again, say, for example, to get a sexual need met, lie, cheat, and steal. I tell this individual, I love you, I care about you, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, and all this kind of stuff, just to get what I want. And then once I get what I was seeking and stuff, then I never talk to you again. And that person goes, what? Again, you know, and of course, all the repercussions when somebody's been deceived that way. But unfortunately, that happens. So all these words kind of come in here. The concept is I'm trying to get is if we can get to the point where we can be fearlessly vulnerable. What our conversation is, this has been a series of vulnerable moments. And there's been a thread of courage going through here that we can speak because Mike's such a great facilitator. If we can create more and more environments that make it more probable that there could be fearless and vulnerability, when someone can say, "Wait a minute, what you just said right now," as opposed to feeling offended, they can get more specific. What you just said frightens me. You just scared the bejesus out of me when you said that, and I don't know why, but I am not going to let it be left unsaid. Right now, I'm feeling very unsafe. If we could have more conversations at that level, the probability of us getting along, I would think, increased human society in general. And I think it will transpire as, again, this consciousness, this awareness that, again, just to say that words have meaning, words have power, and there's nothing wrong with any
No.
of that.
No.
But again, speaking from a man and stuff, to all of a sudden express your emotions, there's this why it's got needs to be called fearless, and such as the next thing there elicits a response that all of a sudden now you're weak and you're inferior and stuff because all of a sudden we had a conversation and you just said I was afraid because what you just said to me frightens me very much. I feel that again, vocationally, my career has just been jeopardized by what you just said. Oh, don't be that way. Don't be such a wuss or whatever words they would use and such. But to openly say, it's like, wait a minute, man, are you talking about right now something that's going to affect my financial future? Being able to bring forth and pay my bills and just take care of my family? This is unsettling, and I'd like to have clarification on what you really truly meant with that. That would probably make many people in the
Yes.
business world very uncomfortable that you all of a sudden you just spoke with such honesty.
Right.
So therefore, we just kind of keep our mouth shut, and things get back to the misunderstood, the misconstrued and stuff. And again, there's just almost a secrecy to it when it gets left unsaid. And that makes a
That's exactly
complicated
what
thing called
secrecy
life
is.
even more complicated because now we got to try to guess what did he really mean by that? What did she mean when she said that? Is she giving me signals that she really likes me? Maybe again in the dating game and so maybe I should ask this woman out, or maybe she's just being friendly and all that kind of stuff. If there could be a little bit more, again, we can still have fun, again, for entertainment purposes. There's nothing wrong with being flirtatious and stuff, but to just all of a sudden have the courage to all of a sudden, it's like going, am I catching this right that be a good idea now to ask you out for dinner? Kind of stuff. And even if that person goes, oh, no, 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 that is not what I'm saying, not to feel offended by it. It's like, okay, I just needed clarity. It's not personal. Getting back to the neutrality of things. Again, we're just communicating, you know? If society could be more, again, I'll use those two words together, fearlessly vulnerable. This is kind of again the words easier ways. Just that would make life easier. If I could be courageous enough and to speak to friend and foe, or more importantly, listen in a way that is much more neutral and much more fearlessly vulnerable, I think things can change dramatically, even. So anyway, we've got on a little long here. I am
you
so
know,
energized right now. Again, I think
yeah.
That's Kairos
I
time.
want to wait. Can I just say something before I forget? Do you mind, Mike?
Go for it.
I want you to know this is Randy. I probably would never say a lot of this. I felt safe with you the day you came to our show and spoke. So that's probably why I can do this with you. And to me, this is what the Course is saying. Everything is a miracle. To me, it's a miracle that you said something that triggered me, that gave me the courage to say something back to you. It was a miracle. There's no blame in this. That's what I love is I'm getting to the point where I'm not blaming people anymore. I'm going, there's a Yiddish word, beschert. It means perfect. It means meant to be. And this to me is so beschert, this discussion, that you're saying things that are, they're not mistakes. There really are no mistakes, They're gifts to me. They're treasures that I can say this back to you, and that my self-esteem is big enough now, or I don't like to use the word self-esteem either. I like to use self-compassion. There's a whole, in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy now. I just came out of 3 months of a program. I was suicidal 5 months ago, which is my thing that always I go back to when I get scared. I got scared about money and I got suicidal, and I went into a program for dialectical behavioral therapy, which teaches, this is the polarity thing. It teaches you to accept two opposites at the same time. But now I'm losing my track of thought why I brought that. What was I saying? Why did I bring that up? Something that I learned in DBT. Oh, well, whatever. But I wanted to tell you something else. When you were speaking, Randy, what came to my mind is like if I were put sitting in front of Putin now, right? And I expressed to Putin, I'm angry that you're waging war. He might sit there and take it as me blaming him. But I would say, no, Putin, I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you how it's affecting me. No blame, you know. I have a wish. I wish you would stop. And that is what I've been trained to do, is ask for what I want and need, and let go of the expectation. And you mentioned manipulation, which is a great word, a great thing to talk about. So Nefertiti and Mike and I are in a show that Neff and I, well, actually Mike helped us too, but Neff and I basically wrote about suicide awareness and bullying. And so for years now, I've been selling this show. We all have been selling the show here and there. And Mike and Neff have helped me so much to come from a space of non-manipulation with this. And often what that looks like for me means not pushing, waiting till I really want to make the call or write the email about it. So I'm not I just joined Under Earners Anonymous, where I'm really looking at, like, one of their beliefs is, one of our symptoms as an under earner is we don't, how do they put it? We don't take in enough money for our work. Well, that's a judgment right there. What's enough? Mike and Neff and I do things voluntarily with this show. We just want to get it out there. We rehearse right now. We're going to do rehearsal. I'm loving this much more. Um, they rehearse with me for 6 years now, or 7 years now. They've been rehearsing with me for free. They're giving their time for free, because we know.
Oh, we've been
that
time banking all of those hours. I want to
Yes,
make a
we've
note
been
of that.
time banking it. Yes, I have a whole long ass list of hours that, no, there's nothing in my computer that's got more in it than that file, you know. So they're volunteering, we're volunteering, and we love it. So this is where the question of money. So I've got this Under Earners Anonymous thing that they're telling me to hand it over to God, as all the 12-step programs do. And they're also talking about making money. And it's hard for me. They talk about not volunteering that, really. They're talking about, one of the symptoms is we give away our time and not get the money that we are deserving. But to me, I'm not giving it away. I'm giving it away. You know what I mean? I'm not blowing my time by not taking in what I'm worth. Every time we do it, I feel more worthwhile. So I have a little trouble with that list, that symptom there on that list. And so, to me, I don't know, maybe if I were starving, I'm not, maybe if I were in trouble with money, I might be singing a different tune. I don't know. I don't want to find out what that tune sounds like, where I gotta ask for at least this much, I'm worth this much. Yeah, we're worth a ton. What we do is better than anything I've seen. It's worth a lot of money, I think. And the real worth of it is in the joy that the three of us feel when we're together working on this. I don't know, I can't speak for you guys, but it looks like that to me.
I'm actually going to use that segue to actually close up this recording, because I'm going to make an observation. What you are demonstrating here, Janet, and what you and Randy are demonstrating, and what we are demonstrating with the play that we've been producing over the last 7 years on mostly volunteer time, that's a demonstration of the commons. That is where we find value in the commons. Now, when we're trying to be in the market, that's where it feels like it's competitive. That's where it feels like, we have to convince other people of our value. That's where we're not seen as people who have value. We're an hour's worth 4 cents that we're giving up of our lives to these
A
structural
commodity, right?
But here's the thing, and this is what the next couple of weeks is going to demonstrate. All of that time that we've backlogged, rehearsing, meeting, doing whatever we've been doing with this show, Janet, that's going to make you and Nefertiti millionaires in the next couple of years. And that's what I'm going to be, showing over the next couple of weeks. And again, it's not about convincing. It's not about, trying to prove anything. It's about, here are the facts. here's how we can look at the relationship between time and really this imaginary concept of money, if you think about it, because there's a $300 trillion debt on our heads, but there's only $1.5 trillion available in actual physical currency. So it's all a game of faith anyway. What we will be demonstrating in this program is how all that time we are spending here in the commons will in the short term make people millionaires, but as the market balances out, we're all going to be able to see the value in each other and invite the market and invite the state to come play with us. That's what that's what these conversations are leading towards. So with that, I'm gonna stop the recording. We can continue to talk here as long as we want, but I'm going to stop the recording here in a moment. And I just want to tell everybody who is listening here that we will be meeting again next Tuesday, the 12th, and we will be discussing the law of vibration. Everything is energy. And my co-panelist on that day will be Christina Graziano. So thank you for listening, and I will see you all again next week for the law of vibration.